Yeah.
So if you deploy it in Ireland or you deploy it in Arizona,
Yes, the
you
region matters, right?
gotta do some
When we
different
talk about
things.
AWS, there are regions,
Right.
and so it brings a good point that I was going to ask. Do you think security, kind of it depends on the organization, but I'm curious in your experience, do you think security requirements often translate to more cost for teams like yours or development teams?
Okay, I know this is all about security. Every requirement translates to cost, right? So it's always a trade-off. I think break it down for me. What has your experience been when you give a security requirement? How often have you been met by a product manager who's like, "Yeah, I can't afford to do that"?
Yeah, so I that's a good question, and I'll answer it in two parts. So oftentimes it's about features, right? So
Yep.
I've been in situations where you do like a design or architecture review, and there's an absolute feature that the dev team is trying to implement. Say they're implementing authentication authorization wrongly, and the best fix for them may not necessarily be the most cost effective for them. I mean, sometimes even the cost of fixing that flaw just outweighs the benefit in terms of like, how much money they have to put into it. It makes the product, like as you said, end user experience even less enjoyable and all of those things. And then there are other situations where teams are just mostly, I would say a lot of times teams just push back anyway, right? With security, we have to kind of play this partnership and so forth. So yeah, for me, that's in my experience, it's always been either security is prescribing the solution that if they don't understand the business, they're just saying, oh, I can say, go implement TLS 1.3 or whatever, but you don't even have the infrastructure that supports that, right? So hence that now means you need to upgrade systems, buy more equipment, all of those things. And that's why I was saying sometimes there's a translate. And oftentimes for security, we don't really bear this cost. Like it translates into cost for the business. So I was just wondering
security is often, well, depending on where you're at, but security is often a cost center, not you're not making the company money. I think having the experience of leading a product management team for information security, I recognize the importance of storytelling. And how critical it is that you don't do this for security's sake. And I think a lot of security professionals, they know it, they know the risk so intently that they're like, there's no reason, like you just must do it. You have to do it. Why do I need to do this? Because you have to. And when you're not a security professional, then it's kind of like, okay, or you're a why kid like me. Why would I have to do that? Having really good storytelling skills in security is critical. Not every product or company or team has the benefit of having like a product manager for security. So I do think that this is an opportunity, if people aren't already thinking about it, of it doesn't matter what your job title is, being a good storyteller will get your features prioritized. I believe that fully. So that'd be my recommendation.
Absolutely. I love that, Jillian, because you bring up a very important point. I think from my perspective and experience, security needs to learn how product works, right? And at the same time, product needs to learn what security does, because it often helps. So you being in security and then obviously in product, you're kind of like a hybrid. you're a gem in terms of the space, right? You don't usually get that. People are either on the left side of it or the right side of it.
So one of those things, I mean, I guess going into like career pathing and journey, which I know you've had an interesting kind of not straight line as well. I very much value switching industries and domains with every single jobs change I've had. I've also switched an industry and I've also switched domains. So I've been in retail, I've been in travel, I've been in consumer, B2B. Those are all different industries I've been in, but I've traversed the disciplines. I've been in development, I've been an engineering leader, I've been an information security product leader. I now a UX product leader. Like, I think being really malleable to where you want to take your career is the mark of how you can bring all of these different concepts or ideas. I am taking the experience that I had at Apple into how I'm thinking about the user experience at Teradata.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of people wouldn't make that jump. Well, what does information security have to do with, enterprise data workloads and people using data at scale and trusted AI? Like, how do those two go in hand? And they do. They really, I'm taking the daily, kind of things I learned at Apple and applying it directly into
Absolutely.
how we're thinking about UX.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point too, because for a lot of security folks, in my experience, we start off, we're excited about security, we stay in those domains. We don't, I would say my experience as a developer, even starting as a developer, greatly enhanced my ability to understand what the developer needs, like what is even feasible in terms of a security requirement or a security recommendation and so forth. Because a lot of times, as I mentioned previously, it's hard for some of these requirements to be embedded into, especially if security is an afterthought, which oftentimes it's what it is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the good part about that, security is such a dynamic space. You could actually do very similarly the jumps that I talked about for my career, but never leave InfoSec.
Yeah.
Because that's how dynamic you have. InfoSec is in every one of those domains I talked about. So you can stay in security and still experience the dynamic shifts in your career.
Absolutely. Let's dive right into something. We talked about empowering the user, which I'm sure it's sort of like what you're interested in. There's a concept these days, privacy by design. And what does that mean to you as far as, like, say, empowering an end user or the user experience, how they can manage their data, how they can, decide what gets stored and what gets used and marketed and so forth? Like, how do you, what's your understanding of privacy by design?
So for me, I hear privacy by design and I think, it's kind of the same way we've already talked about. You start with privacy before you build. You're not thinking of it as an afterthought. When it comes to empowering the user, it's all about what it is that the user is there to do and getting that thing done as fast and efficiently as possible. We live in a world, I can't remember what the stat is anymore. We have no attention, long-term attention span. They're gone. Yeah. So you have to think about privacy in every single click and movement that you make and allow the user to sign up for what that experience means. In B2B, which is where I'm at, privacy by design means that we are thinking about corporate privacy expectations and policies when we design every single feature and function, because otherwise they're not going to buy our product. They're not going to stay involved. They're going to not trust us. And so that's what I think about when I hear privacy by design. Where am I wrong?
No, actually, you touched it. You got it. You touched on all the concepts, which is and obviously even security folks. We depends on the enterprise. Sometimes we work hand in hand with privacy. Those functions are actually separated. Sometimes privacy is under legal and so forth, and there's even like a tension or whatever. But although we work hand in hand, I think we need more collaboration in terms of even like understanding those. But yes, the same way as it applies in security when it comes to security, secure by design, which is a concept we use a lot. And you'll hear like shift left. We want to embed security right from the beginning and so forth.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. It absolutely needs to be done that way.
Yeah, and the only way you're successful in that is you have to understand what it is that your user's there to do.
Yes,
and if you don't start with that why, you don't start with the customer's why, then how can you design with privacy in mind and security in mind from the get-go?